Well, it turns out that everybody's favorite drooler, Old Lunch Bucket Joe, has only allowed 7 formal interviews with the press in 2022. But that kind of figures, now doesn't it? Biden ran a presidential campaign from his basement, literally from his basement, claiming he was being transparent with the people and the press. Yet, he has done everything other than be transparent. The American people, at times, don't even know what the hell is occurring in the executive branch of our government. Since our lovely drooler-in-chief has been president, taking naps at 6 in the afternoon, calling lids at 11 a.m., and barely making public appearances are just par for the course. It's beyond obvious at this point that Biden is being told not to go out into public so that people don't see his worsening dementia, not to mention the high likelihood of him sniffing innocent people. And when the American people actually do see him out in public, you've got to know you're seeing a man pumped full of drugs to hide his condition. So imagine just what he's like behind the scenes. I often imagine an old man, naked, running around the backyard of some mansion in Delaware, chasing squirrels, as the good Dr. Jill tries to lure him back into the house with tapioca pudding and calls of, "Hey Joe, it's Hunter on the phone." Anyways, as Fox News reported, in 2022, President Biden has granted only 7 one-on-one interviews to starry-eyed propagandists. Here's a list of the lapdogs: Jake Tapper of CNN, Jonathan Capehart of MSNBC, Rashad Hudson and Lester Holt of NBC, Yonette Levi. Oh, and who can forget actress and now CBS show host Drew Barrymore, and of course, the Associated Press. So what do all of these journalists have in common? They are all full-on libtards. Joe Biden will never sit down for an interview with, Bret Baier or Bill Hemmer, let alone a Tucker Carlson or, God forbid, a Joe Rogan type. Because every interview this pathetic coward has probably ever done has been merely political theater. Political porn for the incestuous DC smarter-than-you set. Because let's be honest, folks, there is and there never will be any form of legitimate accountability for this man and his corrupt-to-the-core administration. Not one damn common-sense question will ever hit this man's ears, or at least he'll never be required to actually answer it. Full stop. In Biden's recent masturbation fest with Drew Barrymore, Joe discussed showering naked with his young daughter. No, I'm kidding. They discussed extremely important issues like being the brunt of his wife's teasing. I'm wondering if the teasing is over him first meeting her as a prepubescent daughter of one of his co-workers. This family is disgusting on a whole other level. Anyways, at a time when our country is being destroyed, Joe Biden is conducting clown interviews with sycophant journalists whose job is simply to almost literally polish his knob in front of cameras and make him look at least somewhat functional and normal. Similarly to Biden's 7, Kamala Harris has been involved with a whopping 12 interviews, because of course she has. Here are the following organizations: ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, PBS, and Vice News. Now, why doesn't Kamala hold an interview with Fox News or, hell, anyone right of Stalin? I thought California liberals were supposed to be open-minded. I think it's because she is completely, remarkably and incredibly incompetent and doesn't want to be forced into a laughing fit so out of control that she'd pass out. Of course, brought on by completely normal people, asking her normal, reasonable, and relevant questions about the insane failures of her administration. But when we do get those rare treats when Biden makes a public appearance, he can barely speak, at times hilariously and spontaneously shouting, kind of like a homeless man in the streets of San Francisco or any other leftist hellhole. Now, on occasion, his dementia actually forces honesty at times, as he has publicly openly stated, quote, "Now I've been given a list of 10 people that I'm supposed to call on, and you're all supposed to ask me one question, but I'm sure you'll be asking me more." Ha! I was told that was a joke. I'm sure Vladimir Putin is shaking in his boots over this numbnuts. Now, does this sound like someone who's in charge? Well, absolutely not. In fact, pretty much regularly, Joe Biden is holding postcards, giving him directions, where to stand, where to sit, who to call on for their pre-scripted questions, with answers to those questions on the flip side. So, who could be giving Joe Biden, the President of the United States, such direction? Is it his handlers behind the scenes? But who are they really? Is it George Soros? Maybe Xi Jinping? Now, additionally, the New York Post reports that President Trump granted 82 interviews in his first year as president, fearlessly answering the toughest questions every time. Because like a boss, he loves that shit. Now, Ronald Reagan, being the badass he truly was, granted 32 interviews despite being shot in the lung. And of course, Obama, never turning down a leftist groupie, granted 131 tongue baths or interviews. Just look at the difference, it's truly amazing. And in the past, when Psaki, or currently when Jean-Pierre, have been confronted on this issue, it's beyond insulting how arrogant and smug they are about it. Now, amongst the other three, the difference was quite remarkable. Obama would just talk pointless nonsense. However, Reagan and Trump would actually talk about the state of our nation. A, because the media forced them to, and B, because they were perfectly comfortable talking about real accomplishments. The level of arrogance and unaccountability is beyond the pale. It's ludicrous for an administration to say they're going to be transparent, and yet simultaneously give the least number of public appearances. Here's an example. No one knows where the hell Kamala Harris is, and they haven't for months. Perhaps she's visiting the southern border, looking at the disaster she and Lunch Bucket Joe created. But I'm kind of doubting it, folks. Overall, the Biden administration has done nothing to the effect of being transparent. The facts are there. Fox News and the New York Post statistically demonstrate just how little we see our supposed leaders. Just imagine the amount of subterfuge that is affiliated with the Biden presidency. The White House doesn't even release the people who enter and leave, which they are supposed to do, folks. And no, don't even ask about who visits him on his long trips to Delaware. Consequently, one begins to wonder exactly what kind of doctors are entering and leaving the White House, pumping old Joe full of drugs. I don't doubt this for a second, but this is just an opinion, derived from the evidence I see. Kind of like Hitler's doctors sneaking in under the radar to shoot old Lunch Bucket up with medical-grade meth before a hair-sniffing or signing ceremony. As time goes on, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris remind the American people how incompetent they are, and how they should be the last two people to lead our country. Under Trump, we had honesty, transparency, and accountability. And under Biden, we have a constant daily reminder of just how pathetic and stupid the DC establishment thinks the everyday, hardworking, tax-paying American citizen is. Some of this came by way of the American Thinker. If you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. I'd like to thank everyone for all your donations. They're much needed and much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we'll see you next time.
Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.